Okay, so a few minutes ago, what did we miss? Well, I was busy designing the road. I was putting in a horizontal curve, and I'm just going to set up my curve parameters. This would normally be saved with your default template table. So if I had set this up beforehand, I wouldn't have to go in and change the radius. Gee, we're working in a forest road, so let's take our K factors down to 3 and grades up to 15. Maybe we'll leave the adverse grade at -10 and the favorable at 15. These are just guidelines. You can go over them if you want. And design speed, how about we put that down to 40? Now here's the other important point in the road class specification. I can actually say, you know what, I only want to see the simple stuff. Click on OK, and you'll see that now my curve panel is just a lot simpler. So I'm going to put in a curve, let's say 25 meters. Apply. That looks good. Let's set that as my default curve. Go to the next one. Apply the default. There we go. Now we've got two 25-meter curves, and I can actually play around by moving the IP until you hear that little beep, and they bump into each other. Now I've got a continuous 25-meter switchback. Other places I might want curves, not too sure yet. I might need curves in this area. That's pretty sharp corners, or maybe down here. Really, it's up to you. I'm going to leave it like this for now. And now I'm going to start doing the vertical alignment. So let's look at the vertical panel. So this is just road edge. I mean, you should know a little bit about road edge. This seminar is more about road pegging and the kind of things you can do as a whole rather than the details of road edge. But there's my road, and you can see that by being careful about watching my grades as I was pegging that road, I really did build something that had a pretty steady grade to it. Okay, so let's put in the vertical alignment. That's my finish point. That's my start point. We're going to have the bottom here, so we're probably going to want two IPs, one before and one after. Let's zoom in on that. Something like that, with a flattish bridge, and there I will need curves. We've got big grade breaks. You can see that we're going from -9 to 0 to 13. So let's put some curves in there. Again, first curve, let's try K of 5 and see how that looks. Well, that's not too bad. Okay, I'm going to set that as my default. Go back to the previous IP. Okay, now we got a bit of a curve in our bridge. To avoid that, I'd have to go like this. And then I got lots of cut over here. Okay, we're going to have some issues, but let's not worry about it too much right now. Somewhere along here is my switchback, and I want the grade to be a little less in the switchback itself. How can I find it? I just jump over to the plan window, move my current point to the switchback. Here's a little trick. If I go to Selection Tool, I can just click anywhere and look at the cross-section, right? But if I'm busy editing and I click somewhere, oops, it's going to cause me to edit the design. If I hold the Control key, the cursor changes to the Selection Tool, and I can click anywhere without modifying my design. So that's a nice little trick. Hold the Control key, click to select, and then you're back to edit mode. Okay, so there's my switchback. I'm right in the middle of my switchback. At least that's what the current point is showing. Now if I flip back to my profile window, there it is. So we want something like this probably, where the grade in the switchback itself is a little bit less. Again, we could put vertical curves there if we wanted to. The grade break is quite large, 7 to 13. Well, that's a curve. 13 to 5 to 15. So there's big grade breaks in there. We probably should put some curves in. So I'll do that. And next curve, get default, apply. Good. Okay. Okay, we're starting to get there, but boy, do we ever have some big cuts and fills. 60,000 cubic meters of fill. This is going to be an expensive road. So let's look at the plan window. Here's where the fill's happening. Dash green line is my toe fill. Let's take a look at a cross section. Hold the control key, click, and oh yeah. So really, if I were to get this into full bench cut mode, these problems would go away. So rather than fiddling around in the profile, go back to the profile, and trying to lower it down so that I don't have so much cut, well, that's going to be a problem, right? We're already at 13% grade here. Yeah, 13%. So I can't just move the grade around. In fact, I'm pretty much at my maximum grade as it's set right there. But I can move in my horizontal alignment, and I can move in and out of the hill to get full bench without changing the grade very much. It does change a tiny bit, because whenever you move the horizontal alignment, you change the length of the road. So the grade between two vertical IPs will change a little bit, but not much. So here we go. Let's take this point here and move it uphill until, okay, we got problems with the curve. Let's just go back to there. Okay, that's pretty steep, but that's okay. We're coming into our switchback. This may be necessary. But just before that, we can go uphill a little bit. There we go. Now that's almost full bench. Notice immediately you see the effect in the plan window. You can see that the slope stakes coming back up close to the road. Here's a little trick. If I want to do this sort of work where I am, well, let's just do another point. First of all, let's take this point here and move it uphill. And, oh, that's not far enough. Let's go uphill a little further. And there we go. That's full bench, but it's too far. I've got a ditch on the downhill side. I don't need that. So I'd like to go back a little bit. Eventually, I'll get it right. Here's a trick. I want to move horizontally in the section window. So I'll go into my section options, turn on horizontal only. You don't want to move both. If you're working in the section window, you want to move either horizontal or vertical. And whichever one you're doing, you want to watch the appropriate window. I'm going to move horizontal. I'm going to watch the plan window while I do it. So I can just go over to this thing and just move over a little bit, move over that way a little bit. Looks like I could use some daylighting here. So let's go back to my template editor, turn on daylighting. How about 3 meters? Okay, what does that do? This is the old forest road template. It has daylighting built in. There are some more sophisticated templates that have daylighting as well. What daylighting does is that. You can see if I move the template over, eventually I get a ditch. But if I move it back towards the hillside, when I get within 3 meters, it just cuts straight out instead of cutting in a ditch. So that's what we call daylighting. Great. Okay. So I've turned daylighting on. Did I actually say OK to that, or did I say cancel? Darn, I said cancel. Let me fix that. Okay. So roadway, daylighting of 3, well, let's make it 5 meters, both sides, OK, and OK instead of cancel. Recalculate, and the daylight line appears. Great. Now, I'm just going to move ahead, back actually, until I get to another horizontal alignment point, that one right there, to the plan window and move it over. Keep moving it over, not the plan, the section window, until, there you go. Now we've got not full bench, but at least we're not falling off the cliff there. Looks like we're going to need another point in the middle. I could create one in the plan window, or I could just say, let's go back, ahead until we're in roughly the right spot, and let's just move this point over. Click, click again. I created a new horizontal alignment point using the section window. So I'm going to end up basically following the contours to get my full bench cuts where I need them. There we go. And every time I do that, I am reducing the amount of fill. And you can see I'm also changing the ground line to follow the grade. That's what I want. Back to plan. We're almost done here. Let's just get this point over a little bit. Oop, don't have to go that far. This is pretty flat down here. Starting to get steep there. Let's move that point over a little bit. Okay. Well, I basically finished my, at least I've done enough of this alignment to see that it's not going to be stupidly expensive or infeasible. And I can look at things like the mass haul diagram and see that, oh yeah, I'm going to have some extra material, and most of that material is being cut at the end. The beginning here, I'm going to cut at the beginning, and then I'm going to push that across. Looks like I'm going to push it right across the creek, so that might be an issue. Maybe I want to try and do some adjustment of the alignment before the creek, too. So, yeah, let's look at that area. This is lots of cut, but it doesn't look like I have much choice here. I could move those points over a little bit, but not too far, because it's pretty steep. I don't know. We'll probably get away with a little fill there. Whenever I move the horizontal alignment, I'm going to have to check vertical. So big monitor, watch them at the same time. Profile and plan can be visible at the same time. I think that's pretty much all I wanted to show you about alignment. Now, the point here is that we started with a LiDAR file, which contains very good surface information, pretty good. In the areas with dense trees, there were some gaps of 10 meters between points. Not a big deal when you're doing some preliminary road design. However, the LiDAR file doesn't contain any information about the soil, the ground wetness, seeps, stability. It's just not in there. So although I can design a road and get to the point where the location design is creating a pretty reasonable final design here, I mean, I could go out and build this. I still don't know whether it's feasible until I walk the line. So, you know, this is great for doing preliminary planning. You can probably lay out 90% of your roads, and then you go out and walk them and say, yeah, it's going to work. Some cases, you're going to go out and walk them and say, hey, wait a minute, this is a serious wetland here. We got a problem. Let's move the road somewhere else. Or this material that's sitting at 50% side hill is actually unstable, and we can't even do a full bench cut to cross it. It's going to be a problem. That's the kind of information you're going to get on the ground. But the LiDAR gives you everything else.